Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. We're here for a city council meeting, and it's Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019. And we'll start the meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Solomon, Modrick, Nordstrom, Drew, Scott, Drury, Laurenti, Roberts, Armstrong, Lewis. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. We have a meeting. We're official. So we want to start out next with the invocation, and we're going to have Larry Zimmerman from Black Hills Area Habitat lead us in an invocation, and then following, we'll, if you'll join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Honorable Mayor, Council, guests, let us pray. Heavenly Father, bless this evening's meeting for our city officials. Please give them the guidance and perspective to carry out their work in your name. We know their planning and visions will be enhanced with your glory. All the activities of this city are meant to improve and promote with your almighty help. Our work here on earth should reflect the things to come for peace and tranquility. Unity is a key for all of us to strive for, and your wisdom will bring us to that place in our life. We ask for your blessings tonight for the city to have abilities to gain insight for positive growth, plentiful help, and prosperous living for all. We truly pray for this and more as your children of Christ. We do pray for all this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And now it's time for us to adopt the agenda tonight. The council may adopt this agenda as written, or they can make modifications to it. Would there be a motion? To adopt by Lewis and a second by Laurenti. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now a little time for some awards and recognitions. We want to start off with a longevity award for one of our Rapid City firefighters, Michael Bartling. If you could come forward.
Good evening. We are here tonight to recognize Mike Bartling for his 20 years of service to the Rapid City community. Captain Bartling began his career with the Rapid City Fire Department on January 11, 1999. He became a firefighter paramedic in 2004, promoted to journeyman firefighter paramedic in 2005, promoted to lieutenant paramedic in 2010, and promoted to captain in 2014, where he currently serves as the captain at Station 1 on B shift. Captain Bartling is one of those that truly understands this trade we call firefighting, what we refer to as a student of the game. Throughout his career, he has taught countless number of classes and provided hundreds of hours of training, many firefighters, law enforcement officers, and dispatchers alike. He is the type that is always looking for the latest improvements in our line of work and instilling those in his crew. In addition to all his accomplishments and dedication to our department, Mike has also contributed countless hours of blood, sweat, and tears coaching Rapid City youth sports leagues such as baseball and hockey. As a department, we are proud of everything Mike does for us and for our community. And in case he doesn't give you a speech, he would be the first to say that he hasn't done this alone, as he has a great support network with his wife Jennifer and sons Landon and Parker. I'm honored to serve the last 20 years with Mike. Thank you for your service. I figured you wouldn't, that's why I threw it in there for him.
Okay, well, come over here then. Let's get a picture over in this area. And the good news is that now that Mike's been here 20 years, he'll be allowed to grow the customary 20-year firefighter mustache, which is part of the culture. Okay, and now I'd like to invite the Rapid City Sustainability Committee to come forward to present an award.
Okay, and we would like to call up Jeffrey Turon, who's the General Manager of Breadroot Natural Food Co-op, and Courtney Fisher, who started the program that is receiving an award. So we would like to present Breadroot Natural Food Co-ops with the Sustainability Award for the Breadroot Bag Savings Program, which is an acronym for Bags Reused Encourages a Difference, Begin with the Root of the Problem, Plastic. Breadroot initiated, or Courtney Fisher initiated the bag saving program on April 20th, 2018. For every reusable container a customer uses at the store, they can either receive a discount or a credit of 5 cents towards a donation to a local charity, including Feeding South Dakota and Working Against Violence, Inc. The program was initiated to create awareness and create incentives for more people to use reusable containers. Eligible containers include reused bags, reusable bags, jars for bulk flours and spices, containers for coffee, bags and containers for produce. Successes of the program include that in 6 months, 6,143 bags were saved, and $307.15 were donated to the charities Feeding South Dakota and Working Against Violence. Additionally, as part of the spirit of the program, at the same time, the co-op switched from using plastic bags at checkout and uses vegetable-based bio bags at a cost to the store. This is an incredible program. We love it because it encourages us to do things to be more sustainable in our daily lives, but it also gives back to the local community, which is part of the core values of the co-op. So I love this program, and personally, I think that Jeffrey told me I saved over 100 bags myself, so I'm a big supporter and user of the program. So congratulations.
Yeah, say some actual words.
Courtney? Oh, I'll say the words. Each year, our store in previous years went through about 24,000 plastic bags, and those end up in landfills or blowing across the highway on the way to Sioux Falls. And plastic is a problem that each of us has to deal with in the world, and each of us can solve by very small steps of just reusing a bag. And I think it's wonderful that we can make this environmental impact and help the community at the same time. And we're proud to partner with Wavy and Feeding South Dakota.
Line up here and have a photo with everybody. All the big group. Thanks, everyone. Okay, now for item 3. Item 3 was to be Ron Jeffries from the Central States Fair, who was going to give us a brief summary of the upcoming Black Hills Stock Show and Rodeo. He's not here.
I'll take this.
Well, I thought it was funny that we had the name Ron Jeffries and brief in the same sentence. Well, let me just say that some of the things he would have said was that this is the 61st annual Black Hills Stock Show and Rodeo. This particular event that kicks off this coming Friday is South Dakota's second largest event, only second to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Brings an estimated 300,000 plus people to Rapid City, results in about $22 million of economic impact into the area, and it is our largest and most prominent celebration of the agricultural industry. There is a great number of rodeo and events. There's hundreds of vendors between the Civic Center and the Central States Fairgrounds, and it is something to see. If you're in the neighborhood, if you live in town, or if you're close, come back for the Central States Fair and enjoy some of that time there. It's a big welcoming crowd. There are parts of the building that smell like farm animals, and that's part of the deal, part of the experience. So hope to see you there.
I'd like to say a few words.
Okay, and Darla Drew would like to say something.
Just like to add that this event is so big and growing and has such a waiting list for vendors and events that this is one of the catalysts for the new Civic Center arena. This is really an opportunity waiting to happen for Rapid City, and we can only grow it more if we have more room. So thank you to everyone that voted for it.
Okay, thank you. And on to the next item, item number 4, informational presentation from the IPS group related to smart parking meters. And we're going to, leading it off, we'll have Sarah Hansel from Community Development, and also here in support is Kathy Bach. So go ahead.
Good evening. IPS Group is a parking technology company that participated in our parking pilot project this summer. Through the pilot, we had the opportunity to test out several of the parking solutions that they will be describing to you tonight. Before I hand it over to them, I want to briefly refresh our memories on the outcomes of our parking study, which was completed in 2017. It had 4 main findings. One is that there is sufficient capacity in our parking system overall with shortages in localized areas. 2, the 3-hour time limit and the employee shuffle put further strain on the highest demand areas. We lack turnover, and we also lack dedicated employee parking areas. Number 3, by offering the most valuable parking for free, this leads to underutilization of our leased parking permits. In other words, people with dedicated leased lots are frequenting on-street spaces, and that means that we're encouraging, in some cases, 1 car to take up 2 spaces within our system on a regular basis. Lastly, there was strong consumer preferences for more convenient payment methods. To address these issues, the parking study recommended that the city take the following action. First, remove the coin-only parking meters in the downtown periphery areas, and instead install credit card-enabled meters in areas that experience the greatest localized shortages. Along with this, the recommendation was to implement an employee resident parking program to make better use of the on-street areas and to redistribute some long-term parkers to balance the system overall. So over the last year, a team of city staff has been working on implementing these recommendations by forming a parking advisory committee, undergoing a pilot project, and continuing to develop an action plan, including community outreach events. The remainder of our limited time this evening is to hear from IPS about the features and capabilities of their parking technology. I just want to point out, as the agenda notes, we are not requesting action tonight at this time. In the near future, staff will be bringing forward a request to approve specific details about all aspects of parking management, and we look forward to going into the details on all of those items in the future. However, tonight is really focused on becoming acquainted with the technology that rose to the top during our pilot this summer. With that, I will hand it over to Michael Wilson and Randy Lessner with IPS.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it.
A new landscape is emerging, one that sees infrastructure evolving and adopting innovative technology. to meet the needs of growing societies. We are IPS Group. For over 20 years, we've pioneered this new landscape with intelligent parking and IoT solutions that help the cities of today become the smart cities of tomorrow. Our award-winning designs and patented technology have been employed around the globe with proven benefits for our partners, their businesses, and their communities. We recognize the intersection of big data and smart policy. We rely on sustainable practices for the generations yet to come. Just as every space has a purpose, every city has a greatness. Our goal is to unlock it with the future of parking and IoT solutions, powered by IPS Group.
First off, thank you to the council for inviting us to speak today. We're going to be brief, but I want everybody to kind of get a few things out of this presentation. One, of course, who IPS is. Two, what is really paid parking? It's not a small thing. There's a lot of pieces involved in that. And then certainly, from a technology standpoint, understand the differentiators that IPS has to offer to the city of Rapid City. So a little background on IPS, who we are, where we have a footprint, a little bit about our technology and our strength. I always like to point out a couple things. First off, the number of devices that we have deployed around the United States today. You see the number up in the left-hand corner, which is 250,000. We're actually at about 300,000 right now. We're based out of San Diego, California, and we've got about 210 employees now. Very successful because we do everything out of our headquarters, 100% U.S. based. We design, we develop, we manufacture, we distribute, and of course, as a sales team, we have a number of individuals spread across the country. From a transaction standpoint, we process more than 1 million transactions per day. You can add that up over a month. It really says a lot about our size and strength. And then, of course, on the right-hand side of this screen, you see big names, right? I always give reference to cities like San Francisco that has 37,000 of our meters. But then I go back and talk about smaller cities such as Oxford, Mississippi that has 300. The point is that we support all these different environments through the strength of what we do. The last thing I want to point out on this slide, and we're going to move on, is the two circles in the middle. So we take great pride in bringing ROI back to the cities who entrust in IPS, and we do that through sustainable technologies. 99% uptime on our meters is what we shoot for, and we range really in that neighborhood. From a presence here in the Midwest, I do like to point this out, especially because the Midwest tends to be slower to the game in technology than the East Coast and West Coast, as many of you know. But, just in the states here, of course, Sioux Falls, South Dakota is one of our big clients, great relationship. Denver, Lincoln, St. Louis, Des Moines, Kansas City, Columbus, Dayton, the list goes on and on. But the point is, we do offer these solutions. Not everybody is the same. We custom design our solutions and work with the cities to meet their goals and objectives, and in doing so, we deliver a great return. One little piece on our history I think everybody will appreciate. We've been doing this for about 20 years. 2000 we invented our first set of technologies for paid parking. But really our breakthrough was in 2005 and 2009, or 2007, I'm sorry, when we developed the smart technology, which is the integration of credit cards and coins. And then we capitalized on that through solar-based technology for our single-space meters. And frankly, we've been the linchpin for single-space meters since that time. The important point is the last two terms it defines, 2016 and then now. And I state that because from a development standpoint, IPS, believe it or not, has more than 70 engineers on staff full-time. We're always doing things to develop technologies for current clients, introducing new things to the industry for clients that are wanting to get on board, and of course looking for the future to take everybody in a new direction. We do that through R&D and some other capabilities. Some of what you see in that last area is 4G technology we ride on Verizon. A lot of people don't really know what that means. It's just ahead of the curve on the latest platform, which means the city's going to be well on its way for years to come. Our mobile application, which we'll talk to here in a minute, as well as some integrated designs that we do with Honda and Visa and some other big companies. whenever I go into a meeting and I talk about value, I really try to understand what the needs of the city are. Back when we met in the first time with the Rapid City was early spring of last year, but we identified that there's strong needs around managing occupancy, right, which is the big idea. At the same time, as you can see in this list, there's a lot of things we bring to the table that complement that solution to increase the return. So again, you heard me just a second ago, manage occupancy, but what managing occupancy really means is we have individuals, whether that be residents, visitors from outside communities, or local businesses that need to capitalize on parking spaces, we need to give them that ability, right? And I always tell cities that, hey, you know, paid parking or spaces for that matter are very valuable to the city. It makes businesses successful. It makes visitors coming in, hey, I have a space that I want right outside where I'm going. And of course, they enjoy the benefits of using those facilities. And then residents who want to be patrons of the environment they live in. They want to come down and they want to find spots to park and to enjoy the benefits. So it's up to us as a company and in cooperation with the cities we work with to make sure that we have that flow in the environment. So you have people using parking spaces for a specific amount of time, and then when they're done, they go and free that area up for other people. I like this slide, and this is kind of one of the last slides we'll talk to. It's a pie chart, or what I tell people, it's the circle of life. Why? Because all these pieces make up a paid parking solution. It's just not cities going out and saying, oh, I want to buy a parking meter, right? So what I tell people is let's talk about kind of what those engines are. The first one is our single space meters. You guys have seen that in the pilot program that we launched. We're next generation in this space, as I mentioned. And the big driver is to make sure that when somebody walks up to the meter, they have the pay option, right? I can slide with the credit card, I can drop coin, I can use NFC capabilities if I want to, or whatever it may be, but these have to respond and they have to be, you know, simple for people to use. When we take the next step is we talk about the sensors. This is one of the great conversations I have these days because what these sensors do in high traffic areas is they give you occupancy information, right? And it's not just taking a pulse of this environment a few times a day or even just once a day, you know, and making assumptions on it, right? This gives you the ability to manage this environment 24 hours a day, make assumptions, and then decide on what you know about the trends and know about the information you've gathered to make very strategic decisions. The multi-space pay stations. I love to talk about this too because there's a specific use that these are designed for, primarily garages and surface lots. And the reason is, in those spaces, we have a lot of parking areas, and you know, providing that these are centrally located, people can access these again via credit card, via coin, via NFC capability. But they can also integrate the mobile application and be able to pay for parking very quick and very easy. So when I tell people about our meters and I present the value, I talk about ease of use and speed. And if you guys haven't used these, or if you have used these, once you get familiar with it, they're very fast. And like I said, very easy to use. And one point about this, what I also like to introduce is, in this solution, when garages and surface lots choose to have these meters in place, there's a lot of benefits to the environment, right? Only one or two machines relative to 200, 250, it says a lot about it. And the functionality of these and the capabilities they offer, I think, are more advanced for that specific environment. And they don't use the power. They're AC enabled. So you're, underneath a wall or a ceiling, you don't get the sunlight you need. It's another advantage to incorporating these in the garages or the paid parking spots. Okay, I introduced this, you heard me say about the mobile application. I introduced the mobile application because from an ease of use standpoint, and especially on days like this or this week that we're having very cold weather, snowy weather, wet weather, by pulling up to a meter, whether it's a single space meter or being in the garage, the ability to execute a transaction very quickly and very easily is a big benefit. So IPS has offered this to our customers as another payment option. It's not a fee or a charge that we have to people for when they want to use this, which is a great story again for those individuals that get familiar with it. Now they have the capability to again pay from their car without having to get out, or pay at the meter if they choose that, because again they've done a very quick choice here. So Randy's going to come up, and Randy's going to talk about just a few more items that make up the parking matrix, enforcement and permit management, and then we'll be wrapped up.
About 3 years ago, IPS, due to our client's request, most cities want a single source of the software information to flow into one piece of software. So what we did is we built from the ground up a complete enforcement and permitting software to complement our meters and also the space that we're already pretty much dominated on the single space meter side. So what this means to the city, it's a completely cloud-based system, both the permitting as well as enforcement. So everything's done in real time. It's scalable and flexible to as your operations grow, as the city grows. You were talking about this event that you have is continuing to grow. We also have an event module that might help complement that event as well. We are always looking to reinvest in our software. Last year we did about 27% of our revenue back into updating our software and being ahead of the competition and having the latest technology available for cities like yourself in Rapid City. Our permitting, we have, oops, go back there. We have, like I said, a fully cloud-based permitting system which will allow your citizens to be able to manage their own residential permit. So they have an online application where they could go apply for the permit based, of course, on your rules within the city. Be able to upload different files or proof of residencies, things like that. So what that does creates better customer service for your customers, not to have to come down to City Hall, fill out a piece of paper. This could all be done online in real time. So as soon as that person purchases a permit and is approved, they could park within your city using all the other enforcement technologies, the LPR technology that you guys are using with Vigilant Technologies. We all have seamless integration with them. And all these systems talk to each other, and you have one back end to support all the information coming in, both from the permitting, the multi-space meters, the mobile applications, the single-space meters. So it's really easy to maintain and get a snapshot of your operations throughout the city. And I think due to time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just wanted to provide an overview of, kind of give you an introduction to the technology and what it was capable of handling. If you guys are interested in asking any questions or learning more about this, we'd like to encourage you to do that while we have the representatives here focusing on just the technology.
Okay, looks like we have a couple questions. Darla Drew.
I don't know if mine is so much a question as a comment to Sarah and her work, but I think most of us that are sitting up here have served on a parking committee at some point or another for this city. We've gone through so many iterations of this. It, is amazing. And usually we've gone from the point of tourism, businesses, how to get the employees parked, shoppers, and that's why we've come up with the odd configuration that we have now. And I think this is the first time I've seen an actual proposal that monetizes our efforts and actually makes it very more convenient for the people that are going to use this system. So I applaud all of you on your efforts because we needed a real study. We just couldn't bring together committees of people over and over and think that this was going to solve this really major problem for us. So thank you for your work.
Okay, another question from Steve Laurenti.
Thank you, Mayor. And I really just have some comments and I guess some things that I'd like to see when it comes to council action. What I'd like to see is for our application break-even points for our investment, for the revenues that we have to generate. Along with that, I guess my concern would be the fact that we have bond obligations for that our parking covers today, and that's the fines and the revenue generation from the parking itself. So my concerns are financial from that standpoint, so I'm hoping that you will be able to provide that in concert with the finance office. Because that will be my main concern is how long, what is the investment, how long are we looking at before what's the upkeep costs, because obviously there's software, so obviously there has to be support for that. and then our ability to cover our bond obligations that parking currently does today. So I just wanted to thank you for the presentation as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, this is just a, yeah, we don't need a motion today. One more question from Richie Nordstrom, looks like.
Thank you, Mayor. Just another brief comment is that I've read a little bit about your material that you've given us and provided us. My curiosity is in the area of we write off several parking meter tickets at the end of the year, so I was just wondering if you had a industry average or something like that, a nationwide average, or just to help us avoid writing off of some of those unpaid parking tickets.
Okay, so you like your collection rate?
Yes.
Right now, through our portfolio, we're at about an 87% collection rate throughout our portfolio. And again, a lot that dictates on the bite that we're allowed to do on our end for you, meaning, you know, putting holds on registrations, things like that, which unfortunately now in South Dakota, you can't do that. But, you know, so it all depends on the bite that we could do to bring that collection rate up to the 90s.
Thank you. Yield.
Okay, so information item only, no action required from the council. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Thank you.
All right, next item. General public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. We have one speaker request for general public comment, and that's Mark Millar. And when you're making your way up, just let you know that general public comment gets 3 minutes. You can look at the lights over here if you're wondering how you're doing.
I'll start my timer. Thank you, excuse me, for lending me your ears. I'd like to start out, my biggest concern is the changes you're making to running businesses out of your garage. I've just had my 10th year of operating my contracting business out of my garage. Being a licensed contractor with the city at the time that I started my business, I asked at the counter out here if there were any concerns about operating my business from my garage and my home, and the only concerns that they stated was that I not receive freight and have large trucks in a residential neighborhood. That's never happened. The amount of inventory that I carry over in my business could fit in the back of a pickup, and so I don't have a lot of space dedicated to parts, but I do have a job trailer in my driveway with all of my valuable tools, and I find that that's a safe place, and I'd like to continue to do that. But it seems with your blanket denial of operating a business out of garages, I will be in violation of your ordinances. The fact that I live within the 1 mile radius of your core downtown, and subsequently I have a city, what do we call them, code enforcement officer that could visit my property at any time, concerns me that I may, again, be in violation of your ordinances. I see this as, again, that the council seems to be moving the goalposts on business. And I'm concerned that as you guys are going out in the country and inviting businesses to come here and stating that Rapid is a business-friendly environment, I wonder if we shouldn't add the words somewhat business-friendly or sometimes business-friendly, just to protect ourselves in the future when people do sue us for moving the goalposts. I see in the paper that we're about to settle on a lawsuit with Dick and Jane's, probably to the value of $250,000 or so, that could have been money that wasn't necessarily wasted by the city, other than we changed our opinion on how we dealt with the business, and we chose moral high ground above individual rights. Back to the concerns about operating out of my home and my garage, I'd like to state that from the Wright brothers to Microsoft and Amazon, we're all started in their garages and homes. Finally, I have a concern about a property that you own at 103 East Anamosa, and the fact that the sidewalks haven't been shoveled there in now the third snowstorm in a row. And I don't think that the city allows individuals to have that kind of leeway in not shoveling their walks. And my time is up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Now on to the next items under non-public hearing items, 5 through 46. There are no speaker requests for the items 5 through 39, so consent items will be 5 through 39. The council may remove any of these items for separate consideration or vote once on the remainder of them. Darla Drew.
Item 22, please.
Okay, any other items to be pulled from consent? Okay, motion to approve by Lewis and a second by Armstrong, and that would be a motion to approve all the consent items with the exception of 22. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item number 22, approve request from Black Hills Farmers Market to name the area located at 145 East Omaha Street, Market Park. We'll go to Darla Drew.
First of all, move to approve.
Second.
Second by Becky Drury. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to direct some questions to Jeff Biegler, please. Hi, Jeff. I see that we're changing the name of a park. Or changing it or just naming it? What are we doing here for sure?
We are just naming it. Right now, that is one of the Greenway tracts. That's Greenway tract number 28. It does not currently have a name. It's kind of known informally as the old Harley site.
Yes, it is.
Because it's become home for the Black Hills Farmers Market, the request came in and was supported by our department and by the Parks and Rec Advisory Board to name that site Market Park.
I have no problem with that. Do we have to have a lot of new signage? Is it going to be on new maps and things like that? Because I see this as a growing attraction for people to come to.
Yes, we would install signage there to call that out as a new park area.
And I'd just like to remind you about a conversation we had last year. We do have one of the very first Frisbee golf parks in the world on Omaha. It's the 11th in the world, and I would like to just recommend while we're here that park receive a special name because people do make pilgrimages to play in that park because it was one of the first 15 in the world. And we heard that very loud and clear from the Frisbee golf community. And we have a very strong and active community. And I'd just like to see it named something cool. Biegler Park, Course 11, I don't know, Darla Drew Land Area. I don't know what it is, but if we could just have something that marks that for the world travelers that come there.
Yep.
And, maybe it's Course 11 because it was the 11th in the world. So
We'll certainly take a look at that.
I think you should. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, Mr. Biegler is on it. We have a motion to approve item 22. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Takes us through consent. Now on to non-consent items 40 through 46. We won't need a public comment period here. There are no requests. So the ordinances, starting with item number 40. Second reading, ordinance 6264, an ordinance to amend chapter 15.14 of the Rapid City Municipal Code to adopt the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. Motion to approve by Laurenti, second by Armstrong. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion. One no from Mr. Roberts. Item passes. Item 41, second reading, ordinance 6266, an ordinance to amend chapter 15.22 of the Rapid City Municipal Code to adopt the 2018 International Fuel Gas Code. Second. Motion to approve by Solomon, second by Drury. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 42. Second reading, ordinance 6270, an ordinance to amend chapter 15.13 of the Rapid City Municipal Code to adopt the 2018 International Residential Code. Motion to approve by Nordstrom, second by Laurenti. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 43. Second reading, ordinance 6285, an ordinance to amend Chapter 15.12 of the Rapid City Municipal Code to adopt the 2018 International Building Code. Motion to approve by Laurenti, second by Drury. All in favor say aye. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my fault.
Yeah.
Darla Drew, we're
Trying to-
backing up. Darla Drew, go ahead.
Do a little dust up here. I would like to know, do I direct these questions to Dale Tech? Is that the person? Would it be Ken? Ken Young, okay.
And Young.
So Ken, I had voted no on this last time, and I was asked why I did that. So I had a couple of questions for you. I saw that a lot of things were removed as I went through this particular change, and there's a sprinkler system increase. When you increase your building, that's no longer a requirement. Can you tell me more about why that would be? Because if you're going to increase your space, you might want to have more sprinklers if you're already required to do that.
Well, I suppose that's something I would have to do a little research on. Unfortunately, Brad Solon, our building official, is unable to be here tonight. Recently lost his mother, so he's dealing with that. All I can say is it's based on the new recommendations coming forward from the International Building excuse me, Association, recommendations of what is needed. So
those weren't things that we removed, those were removed by the international people?
Yes.
Okay. Can we add things? If we decide to do something with our own codes, we can add things to it?
Yes.
Because what I'm talking about here is, I saw that there was language about floodways and flood areas, but there was no mention of water basin and wetlands, which we have more of a concern with in our area. So that was something that concerned me when reading through this particular thing.
Okay. Again, all I can say is it's based on recommendations from the International Building Code Association. So if you would like to hold on this, we could get more detailed answer on that.
Well, I think for our area, we really have to consider the water basins and the wetlands, because we're having building going on in those areas right now that are in question. And we've had problems because there's been building in those areas. And I think that there should be some kind of an oversight as far as how we regulate building in those areas if we know we're creating a problem for future homeowners. So I can't vote yes on this, and if we want to hold it, we can, but I can't give this a yes.
Okay, Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I might be able to shed some light on some of your questions there, Mr. Drew. As far as like the way the code is adopted, there's usually a meeting an annual meeting amongst the code. People send representatives from all over the country to adopt this code, and the fire departments are usually pretty well represented. And they have probably made a compromise somewhere along the line when they adopted the code or made the recommendations for the code put together on a national level. And I know that they show up pretty much in force when they have something that really concerns them. So if they've removed some language, I guarantee you it's been vetted pretty heavily along the line. And as far as how we do this locally, there is a local board that reviews all this. As I understand it, the people, the stakeholders, as it were, various contractors and or members of the industry that go through this with the city staff, and they figure out what's pertinent to Rapid City. And as far as the things with wetland and things like that, you have like the Army Corps of Engineers, the DNR out of Pierre, and they make the recommendations on a lot of this stuff as far as where you can and cannot build. And wetlands are obviously a huge issue that I assure you are addressed all the time when it comes to development and building. So I don't think there's any reason to hold this up. I think it's been pretty well vetted locally and nationally as well. So I'll be voting to approve it, and hopefully clears up some of your questions. If you have any more questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I'd like to thank Alderman Lewis, but I don't want to approve something that we're going to just have to go back and amend. I don't see any sense in that. So I'm going to reserve judgment on this, and I'm going to vote no today. Thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor is for approval of item 43. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, motion passes with one no. Item 44. First reading, ordinance 6277, an ordinance amending Title II and corresponding sections of the Rapid City Municipal Code to accurately reflect current departmental organization. Motion to approve by Solomon, second by Drury. And we have a comment from Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to emphasize the changes that you've made or made suggestions to changes, and specifically I endorse the change to the IT becoming a department. It's been needed for some time, so I applaud everyone that's been involved in that, bringing that forward. So, Mr. Gilbert, good luck with it, and I look forward to some good things happening on this. So, thank you for what you're doing.
Okay, and Community Development Director Ken Young.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that this does have a bit of a change, at least with the name for the Community Development Department included in this ordinance. However, it should not be looked at as a comprehensive adjustment as might be needed through our department and other departments. As I recently spoke with the City Attorney's Office, there are several other minor changes, housekeeping issues that will need to, again, come forward. But this item was put forward mostly to create the IT, and a couple other things were included in that. But you'll be seeing additional changes just to clean up the
Just a name
ordinances.
change for tonight.
Right.
Is what you're saying, yep. Okay, thank you. All right, there's a motion for approval on the floor. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 45 from the Legal Finance Committee. We'll go to the Legal Finance Chairperson, Laura Armstrong.
Okay, thank you. Item number 45, request from the public to direct staff to draft an ordinance amendment to allow personal assistive devices, otherwise known as segways, on downtown sidewalks. This was a topic of discussion at committee, so I think we'll just move to a discussion.
Okay, we have a few people who want to. Steve Laurenti.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to voice support for it on one level, and then just to let my colleagues know that, and I'm sure they've looked at it as well, but we're directing staff to draft an ordinance. So a lot of questions and concerns, things that we don't already have, will surely have plenty of time to answer many of those questions, because we'll have to go through 2 readings once an ordinance finally comes back to us. So I just wanted to voice that, and I do support it. So I just wanted to let my colleagues know that we have a ways to go, and if you have questions, there's going to be plenty of time to answer those. I yield.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to oppose this, sending it to the draft form to the Attorney's Office, because I've gotten a few emails. I've had conversations with the Downtown Business District as well, and they've commented that they're not in favor of seeing segways in there. And I understand that this is only a recommendation to send it to the staff or the directors to come up with an ordinance on that. But right now, with the resistance and not even communicating properly with the businesses that would be affected on this, we need to have that conversation first before we even get to the stage of having a draft put together. And if my suggestion would be is that it could be looked at would be, instead of being downtown, and especially in the downtown core area, let's do it on Mount Rushmore Road, if anything else, because it's not suitable for downtown just because of the current construction and also the infrastructure that we have downtown. Thank you.
Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't at the meeting for public legal and finance, so I didn't see the discussion on this. I didn't stream it. But as a person that has actually taken a Segway tour of a city, I can see this as a real tourism boon for us. But I wouldn't just say that we should just allow all Segways everywhere, anytime. I could support tours. I could see this happening for the City of Presidents. If they can do it in downtown Atlanta, I think we can do it here. It could include a tour of Art Alley, and I think that it would be a good business for somebody. They have to train people on how to use them, and then you go on a 2-hour tour, and it's a great way for people to see our City of Presidents. Also, to go along the bike path and go through the city Greenway and see all the beautiful areas we have here. That could be a safe thing. I don't think just letting everybody go helter-skelter on, on a Segway downtown is a good idea, but I could support having a concerted effort to have some kind of a directed tour downtown with Segways.
Okay, city attorney wants to weigh in.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I just wanted to weigh in more on generally the process. One of the reasons that we have people put these requests on before we draft the ordinance is that we hope you'll vet them before you direct us to draft the ordinance rather than have us draft the ordinance then vet them. So it would potentially save us work if it's going to be something that after vetting you decide you don't really want to pursue. So just if you direct us to do it, we will draft an ordinance and we can vet it that way. But just so you understand what the idea is behind having it on there for a recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't have a motion yet, do we?
Pardon me?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, and keep the floor.
Okay, yep, the second was John Roberts. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, I've said this at Legal and Finance, and I'll say it again. It's the 21st century, folks. These Segways have been out there for about 19, 20 years. And I would be willing to bet there's probably less than 10 of them in Rapid City because they're pretty expensive. I've never seen anybody use one around here. They're mostly for urban areas that have, a lot of congestion and things like that, and they seem to do just fine in those areas that I know of. I mean, I don't have any statistics on people getting run over by Segways, but I imagine it's going to be mostly as the person that's requesting this, and generally speaking, it's going to be for tour groups. I don't see a big major problem coming out of this. The worst thing that happens, we have a sidewalk full of Segways, I guess, then I'll eat my words. But otherwise, I think it's going to be pretty limited usage, and I think it's going to be, it's a great way for some of the folks that have a harder time getting around to see all the different statues, which obviously a huge attraction in Rapid City. And I think it's going to help, with some of the parking congestion, perhaps. I don't know. I just don't see it being a major issue. And like I said, I bet the number of actual individuals using Segways and using them in Rapid City is really, really low. So I think it's just another one of those things, a solution looking for a problem. So I think we just need to go ahead and approve it, move on. And if we have a real big problem with them, we can deal with it then. But I just don't see it turning into one. Thank you.
And back to Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Joel Landine, please.
Yes.
So Joel, would you say that we should approve this with a stipulation, or we just approve it and then you go back and do something, or how can we go forward with this? Because I really have a feeling that I'd rather see it for tours than for individual use. So, help me out.
Well, preferably we'd have the discussion about whether or not this is going to be good. But I see there isn't really anybody here to talk about it tonight. But if we bring an ordinance forward and the downtown businesses get more of a wind of it and they have some different views, because there's probably going to be some that support it and some that think, there's areas in town where you have a sidewalk cafe or whatever and there isn't a lot of space on the sidewalk. But the reality is it's probably all going to be speculation until you either authorize it and there starts to be problems or there isn't problems, and then we'll know for sure. If you want to direct us to do it, I guess give us some guidance. If you want it limited, we can limit it or we can just allow it. And my guess is there probably will be some conversation about it when the ordinance has come back forward.
Yeah, I can see it limited on Thursday nights. Like, I don't think anybody should be doing Segway tours in our downtown on Thursday nights. I think there's plenty of open area around some of the perimeter presidents that we could have Segways going on that without any danger. I did a Segway tour of Atlanta, and there were just places that we would go through alleys, or we would go on pre-designated areas into the street, and they were pre-designated, and that was if there was a safe a sidewalk cafe or something. So there is a way to do this. I think it can be done, and it can be done safely. I don't think it's impossible. I just don't know the stipulations at this time, so I'm just kind of looking to you for how we say yes, kinda.
Well, and I think from the request and the fact you probably wouldn't want to open it up necessarily to all Segways right away, then maybe the compromise is when we draft the ordinance, we allow Segways on the sidewalks as part of an organized tour and some process for getting approval of that.
So today, would you say to us, if we want to see that happen, we say yes to tonight, to this? Okay, all right, thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think there's been some good points brought up on this. I believe that the people that were bringing this forward were doing it for tours. But I also believe what Mr. Lewis said. You know, I doubt if there's 5 people in Rapid City that own their own Segways. They're expensive, and, you know, at any given time, are they all 5 going to be in downtown Rapid City? And I don't think we're going to have a huge spree of people running out and buying Segways if we open this up. So, you know, one of the things about it is I think it'd be very simple just to put in the ordinance that, you know, Segways are allowed in the downtown core for a business use or for a, you know, so we could make it very simple. You know, we could not open it up to quote unquote private usage of Segways in downtown Rapid City. I mean, there's some very easy compromises on this. I think when the ordinance comes forward, I think that, you know, there may be business people out there with concerns downtown, but I don't see any of them sitting in the audience tonight. But once an ordinance comes forward, we, you know, and we get a little bit more, you know, media attention on this, then we probably will have some people, they'll have some suggestions, and that's why with an ordinance you have 2 readings, so you can shake some of that out. And even once you do, over time, we may shake some other things out with it. So I support an ordinance going forward on this. I think it's a good idea. I think that, you know, there does come a time that Rapid City does have to kind of jump into the 21st century, and I think this is, you know, it's a novel idea. Is it going to work or not? I don't know. But I think the people should have a chance to be able to do it. So, thank you.
Okay. Jason's, no, not Jason. Okay, Jason Solomon.
I thank you all for the great discussion, and you do make some good points, and it's funny that we're talking about Segways because it's 2 decades old. I will stand by my comments I made at Legal and Finance. I think it's unwise to allow this in the downtown core, but I do think there's an opportunity to have it elsewhere, and whatever that place is, whether it's Mount Rushmore Road, as Alderman Nordstrom suggested, or something else, could be determined. But I have some concerns about the congestion on those downtown sidewalks, not even because of the 5 people in Rapid City who may own a Segway, but because of the businesses that may use that. So. I would also just say this, you know, reading a little bit about this, a lot of communities are trying to untangle the knots of allowing electronic assisted devices, whether it's Segways or scooters or whatever the case may be, and we're trying to tie a knot in a sense of allowing it. And I just don't think it's wise. I just think it creates more issues than are necessary, and there are again. Maybe there's a park, maybe there's other areas of town that could work in. I'm just not so sure that it's our downtown core. So I'll oppose this still. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky Drury.
Thank you, Mayor. I did a kind of an unofficial poll out on Facebook, and it was 95% of the people, and I'm not saying all of them live in Rapid City, but they all said no, because they didn't want to be bumping in to motorized vehicles when they're down shopping or have to look for them. And, you know, and even if they're coming in groups, that's almost worse because they're motorized, they're going, and I'm thinking if I see a bunch of motorized vehicles coming to me, I'm the one that's going to have to feel like I have to jump out of the way as a person that's walking. So, you know, and I drove by the firehouse the other day. Their restaurant comes out on the street. Right beside the restaurant is a flower box and a light pole. And I know that our police department does get through those areas downtown, but that's one at a time, not a group of a dozen. So I think there are some safety issues that we need to just kind of think about. And I like the idea of bringing new things downtown and getting people and tourism and, you know, whoever it is, but I just am concerned about the safety issue. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, let's go back. Laura Armstrong's not spoken yet. Let's hear from her.
May I please direct a question to Chief Jagaris?
Yes?
All right. I'm glad Mrs. Drury brought that up about the police having these devices. While it's not a Segway, it's Segway-like, correct?
Correct. We have
like a tripod?
three-wheel scooters.
Okay. How many do we have?
We have 2 for our parking enforcement officers' use primarily.
And they're downtown, naturally?
Correct.
Do they have any issues navigating? Do they bump into things, people? Do people jump out of the way?
No, they're just extremely cautious, and they do a lot of yielding to pedestrian traffic.
Has there ever been an accident?
There has not.
Motor vehicle, person,
No.
otherwise, dog?
No.
No. Do they have any concerns, these parking officers, do they have any concerns about potential Segway tours, maybe clogging up or congestion on the sidewalk or in a
Not that I'm
crossway?
aware of, but I'll tell you I haven't spoken to them about this specifically.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I yield.
Okay, we're going to go back to Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Very briefly, just to be cautious, folks, about opening this up, because you'll be having skateboarders coming in next, you'll have bicyclists come in next, unicycles coming in after that. So just be careful what we're asking for and putting together a piecemeal project like this. So just be careful, folks. Thank you. Yield.
And Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To just kind of expound upon what the gentleman was saying, a general public comment about Rapid City, I was always trying to attract newer businesses and better businesses. This is the kind of stuff we don't need in the paper. We're always against everything that's new and progressive. Segways have been out there forever, folks. This is just such a non-issue. It makes us look like a bunch of hicks. I mean, ride sharing, we had a big deal about that. We had to prove it, obviously, because it was a state issue. Airbnbs, I mean, this is all the stuff. That's the way the world's gone now, and this is the way the world is. And we're all we just accept it. I mean, this isn't like the Hells Angels being running around on Segways. You know, I mean, we're going to have maybe one group floating around downtown at a time. It's just it's a scooter, folks, and I don't think you're going to see. Maybe we'll see a few angry youth coming here in their skateboards. I used to be one of them, but I don't think we're going to let them go. These are transportation devices that are really. It's just not an issue. I just don't see this being an issue. There's not like there's thousands of them out there.
Not unless you really.
I mean, the biggest problem we're going to have is maybe a few more man buns and skinny jeans, but I just think we need to move on. I just vote on, let it go, and let's see what happens when let them draft an ordinance at least. So that's my word. Thank you.
Okay, for the record, Alderman Lewis formally challenges the Hells Angels to ride Segways downtown. We're going to go back to Darla Drew for a brief
Okay,
moment.
I'll make it quick. Has anyone on this dais ever been on a Segway tour? Okay, they are very fun, and I think we can make them safe. We've got alleyways. They don't always have to be on the roads. They can come the back way, and they can see all the great statues we have, and it'd be really great for people that aren't really that mobile to be able to see all the presidential statues and to see our great, downtown. So I think there is a way we can make this safe, and we would approve those routes on this dais and make sure that this could be something we could have in our city and be safe and no Hells Angels. Okay, there we go.
Okay, now I'm going to weigh in, take my official up to 5 minutes. I'm going to virtually hand over the chair duties to the council vice president here. This is how we'll do this. The motion on the floor is for approval, and this is what we'll do. We'll just, as we move forward, we'll just pause this for a short period, and we will, in that time, contact the Downtown Bid Board, Destination Rapid City, have them inform people downtown so we can get that input. And also, I would ask the police department to identify those trouble spots, because a number of years ago, we did something really good downtown. We allowed the outdoor restaurant, what do you call those? The outdoor, the sidewalk cafes. And we mandated a permanent fence and that sort of thing. And those worked out great, except we didn't take into consideration those spaces where there are light poles. And so in hindsight, that's created already a logjam of pedestrians on a busy day. I can think of one or two off the top of my head. But we just need to know where they are to see what type of difficulty we may have, and then the council will have that information when you consider an ordinance. And then when we have that, after a few days of homework gathering, then we'll give the city attorney's office the go-ahead to start drafting that ordinance, and so that we have the full.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to make a motion then to a substitute motion?
No, approval's good enough if that's what you want to do. We'll get that done before we kick off the process. So that's all I have to say. So motion on the floor is for approval. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. So Solomon, Nordstrom, Drury. Anyone else say no? Okay, motion passes with 3 noes. And that takes us on to item 46. And this is to approve the purchase of an enhanced version of the anti-malware protection for all city computers. And this comes from Jim Gilbert, the city's IT officer, and we'll turn it over to him for comment.
The agenda is, we were offered a 30% discount on a software we were going to originally buy in basically April, May timeframe from the CIP. We didn't have a CIP meeting this week, so there was, or this month, so there was no chance to get that on. We have until the 31st to sign the document to buy the software that we are going to buy regardless. It's already been planned for. So this is really just some red tape that we have to clean up.
And is there a contract to be signed with this company then?
So this will be a signatory on the rate, and then we don't actually, our current contract, or our current version doesn't end until May. So we'll probably come back with the actual contract at that time. This is recognition of the rate. So
Okay.
that's,
And the amount of money?
it'll be $50,000 for 3 years, $50,544, I believe.
Which is a 30% discount.
30% discount, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Solomon, second by Drury, and we'll go to Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for this opportunity to speak to Mr. Gilbert. I used the home version of what you're planning on doing with this Malwarebytes. I like it. It's been very, very successful for me in my efforts to keep my computer clean from viruses, et cetera. So the commercial version or the government version of this, I feel very comfortable with it. And then coming from CIP, I see you've got this pretty much budgeted already anyway, so I'm very comfortable with it and look forward to one more question, if I may. Does that apply to the city council members that are still using city computers?
It is to cover every asset that we have that will allow this software on it. I believe they are holding their iOS version for another 2 months as testing, but it will cover any, certainly any PC and also any Android device that the city owns. So.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. I appreciate it and wholeheartedly endorse this. Thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor is for approval. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public hearing items 47 through 52. There are no speaker requests on these items, so we'll skip the public hearing. We'll go to then public hearing consent items 47 through 52. Does the council have a motion or would like to pull one of these items off?
Second.
Motion to approve consent items from Laurenti, second from Drury. All in favor of approving items 47 through 52, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And down to the bill list. Go to Finance Officer Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list, so the total is that which is attached at $10,827,449.06.
Okay, motion to approve by Nordstrom and a second by Drew. and a third by Laurenti. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we're done. Do we have a motion for, okay, motion and a couple of seconds for adjournment? Any objection? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.